Hey everybody, welcome to the Player's Take, episode 29. I am your host, Justin D. Simone, joined by my co-host, the Golden Deer's finest, Montrell Rice.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
For those of you who haven't listened before, the Player's Take is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and your favorite podcast app of choice. So it's been a while. We haven't recorded in 3 weeks. Montrell and I haven't sat down and recorded in 3 weeks. We've given you a couple of reflections episodes, but we're back, baby.
Yeah.
Until like next week, right? I don't remember. You had a
no. We can do 2 more episodes.
Okay.
But on the second episode, we have to record twice because I'm going out of town.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, that'll be the last one for a while. Until
I
guess until September, actually.
Because you got to go back.
You're going. No, I'm not going anywhere. You're going places for work, right? In September. All right. So it's been a while, guys. We're back. We're going to talk about news like we normally do, but we're going to start like we always do with what we've been playing. So, Montrell, why don't you get us started? What have you been playing in the long 3 weeks since our last recording?
The long 3 weeks. So I really haven't touched anything, and for a reason being, a game was coming out. Mm-hmm. So I've been playing League of Legends on my Smurf account, and the season just ended, unfortunately. Or the split ended. I don't know if that's the season, but the second half of the split ended. So yeah. I'm at Gold 2 right now. Okay. I was at Platinum 4, but I dropped down because I had
Man, what a scrub. You're ruining your Smurf account, man.
It's not me, man. But that's what everyone says.
Man,
but yeah.
You're ruining your Smurf account. Oh, God.
But I'm at Gold 2.
To make another Smurf account.
No, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to keep this one. This one's MMR is pretty good.
This is quality.
Yeah. So then after that, 3 Houses came out, and I've dropped everything. I've been playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses, man.
Me too. Before we get into that, I do want to touch on Zelda briefly. So, honestly, mostly what I've been playing is Zelda for the first week and a half since we recorded last, and then 3 Houses since the second half of the 3 weeks. So Zelda, I did make it through. I actually made significant progress in Zelda. I got through the Zora domain. I finished the Divine Beast in that area.
Okay.
I've completely finished that 3rd area. I actually finished a complete 4th area in Central Hyrule. I'm at the point now that I am doing stuff that I never did on my initial playthrough of the game.
Really?
So I've kind of hit a new point. Unfortunately, 3 Houses came out and kind of destroyed my Zelda momentum. So I haven't played in a while, but it's still on my mind. I want to go back because I was kind of on my 5th area, kind of starting around in that area. I had just gotten the tower and everything in that spot, and I was starting to comb my way through it.
Yeah.
As I said before, I am still really enjoying this playthrough. I will say the Divine Beast, I can see why I quit last time when I was doing the Divine Beast because, dude, it is so boring. It took me like an hour to beat it.
Really?
Like, it was so easy. It's ridiculous how easy it is. And there's like very little nuance to it. It's like, go activate these 5 terminals and then go activate the main terminal after you activate those 5. And the main terminal's not like hidden. It's like known to you from the get-go where it is.
Yeah.
And the 5 terminals, you just have to figure out how to get to them and like activate them.
Okay.
And they all have like little puzzles associated with each one, but they're not difficult really in any way. And there's no like special items or chest key or like door keys or anything like that. Like, there's none of that stuff. So it's kind of bare bones, and honestly, compared to the exploring of the world, it's really not fun. It's definitely a low point of the game so far for me. But I do want to go back. I mean, honestly, I didn't do the other 3 Divine Beasts, so I may feel differently on doing those. They may be a little bit more difficult.
Okay.
Hopefully that's kind of what I'm hoping. I think this one was definitely like the intro beast was like the first one to kind of get people's feet wet with it.
Yeah.
They didn't want to make it too hard, so when Fire Emblem fever has subsided, I'll get back to Zelda. But let's get into it.
Yeah.
We've both been playing Fire Emblem 3 Houses. As of recording, it came out about 10 days ago, I'd say.
Yeah.
And man, oh man, I think both of us, it's safe to say both of us have been fucking obsessed with this game since it came out.
I actually, like you said in the previous podcasts, I believe, or maybe off stream or off tape, this has been I haven't played Fire Emblem in a while. The last one I played was Awakening, and I put like maybe 20 hours into that, and I was like, I'm not really feeling this anymore.
Yeah.
But then before Awakening, it was about 15 years, and it was Blazing Sword. So
since you played a Fire Emblem that you actually liked.
Because unfortunately I didn't play Path.
You missed 3 then. So
yeah,
you didn't play Sacred Stones either on GBA. So you didn't play Sacred Stones, Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn. Yep. You also didn't play Fates.
Exactly.
That's 4 that you haven't played. Man, I'm jealous. You got some fun.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to go back and play Path of Radiance.
You need to play those too.
Yeah, I need to go back.
If you need to borrow them, I have them both.
All right.
So,
but yeah, I forgot how addictive Fire Emblem is, and holy shit, I have not put this game down at all. Not to mention, like, Blazing Sword story was okay. It wasn't like the best, but this story is like really fucking good. Maybe because I haven't played a fucking Fire Emblem in a while, so I know maybe compared to some other Fire Emblems, like it's like it's up there, but it's not the best. But for me, it's like a quality Fire Emblem experience.
So I guess we're gonna go deep on this.
Yeah.
just to warn everybody, there will be some spoilers. I'm gonna keep my thoughts here in the next like minute or two unspoiled, but we're gonna get into some spoilers here. I don't want to go too deep into spoilers because we're doing different paths. I'm doing the Black Eagles and you're doing the Golden Deer, so our story experiences are different because of that, and I don't really want to spoil the game for each other too much.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Because I want to do all the paths.
I do too. Yeah.
There are certain things about the paths that I'm going to talk about in relation to how I feel about this game that I don't want to spoil for people if they don't want to be spoiled. But to do non-spoilers real quick, Intelligent Systems has made a very good video game here. And I could not honestly say that about Awakening or Fates. They have a lot of issues, and they have a lot of unbalanced, unfun systems in them that I just could not get past as a Fire Emblem player, and just in general. I just don't think they're good games, personally. I think the stories were terrible in both. I think a lot of the characters in both were bad. I think the designs were bad. I think they were really catering to the weeb audience. I don't really like to. I don't know. It's not, I feel like I'm being disrespectful when I say that.
Yeah.
But I know it's an acceptable term, so I don't mean it any disrespect. I'm just kind of that's like, you know what I mean. When
I know what you mean by that. Yeah.
So, they were kind of catering to that crowd, and they're still catering to that crowd, but it is way. It's pared back a lot for this game.
Yeah,
the character designs are a lot more respectful, I feel like, and a lot more mild in terms of their sexuality, and for the males and the females, by the way. This isn't exclusive to the female models. They're a lot worse a lot of the time, but even some of the male models are like over the top in some of these games. So, but overall, I think this game is extremely good. If you have a Switch and honestly you like strategy games in any way, shape, or form, this game is for you. If you like anime, this game is for you. If you like Persona, this game is for you.
Yeah.
Like, this game it's got all the social elements to it. There's tons of like interactions with your characters and your party and stuff like that. All that is new to Fire Emblem in certain ways. The support system's always been there, but they integrate it more into the gameplay this time than they did in the past. You actually have to work to get your support levels up.
I agree
there
with
are
that.
rewards. There are tangible rewards to doing it too. So it's a lot more worthwhile in this game to actually work on your supports. And so from that perspective, the game is really good. The combat, really good. They've made some significant changes that I will get into in a few minutes on the gameplay systems that are... They've kind of gone in the other direction for where Fates was going, and I am so happy about it. And they've brought the game back to the Path of Radiance, Radiant Dawn place. That's the way this game plays. It is a little different from those games, I will say, and and I'll get more into detail on that when I start talking about like there's some of the changes to the stats they've done and like stuff like that. But purely from Fire Emblem, this game feels like Fire Emblem should feel.
Yes.
Like, it feels like Blazing Sword. It feels like Path of Radiance. It feels like Sacred Stones. It feels like Radiant Dawn.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel like Awakening, and it doesn't feel like Fates, and that is highest praise I can give this game.
And I just can't put like my finger on it. I did go back actually and play an hour of Awakening, and I'm just like, I can't put my finger on why Awakening sucks. Like,
so let me explain it to you, because I know exactly why Awakening sucks, and Fate sucks for similar reasons. So they have done away with a number of things. The weapon triangle is gone. There's no more axes over lances, lances over swords, swords over axes. That is gone. And when I heard this, at first, I didn't know how I felt about it, but god damn it, it is such a good decision, because making a character worse just because of their weapon choice against a certain other unit it's asinine and doesn't really contribute to strategy. It makes the game rock, paper, scissors in a bad way.
Yeah.
Where you still get advantages with certain weapon types. Like, there are the axe breaker skills, or sword breaker, or lance breaker, when you get deep enough into the skill levels with certain weapons, that you'll get sword breaker, which gives you a plus 20% hit rate, 20% avoid rate with lances when you're fighting against a sword user. But you have to work to get that skill, and you have to choose to equip that skill. It's not an inherent advantage that you gain just because you're using a lance against a sword.
Yeah,
you know? And so it's a choice you have to make now versus it being an inherent gameplay mechanic. And so that's the first thing that they changed that is huge in my opinion. Fates was out of control, and I showed you some of the skills in Fates. Were ridiculous. Swordbreaker, Lancebreaker, dude, it was 50 avoid. It was 50% avoid, 50% hit when you were using the advantage weapon type, on top of what the weapon triangle gave you as well, on top of it.
That's ridiculous.
It was fucking insane. If you had Swordbreaker on, or actually a better example, if you had Axebreaker on and you were a sword user, because axes are the lowest accuracy weapon in Fire Emblem by nature. That's how they've always designed axes. They're the highest power weapon but the lowest hit rate generally. If you were using Swordbreaker and Fates as a sword user against an axe user, they can't hit you. Like, their hit rate is 0, straight up. Like, there's no way they're going to hit you, because your normal avoid as a sword user, because sword users tend to be pretty fast units, like their speed is high. So your normal avoid rate plus the 50% from Axebreaker plus your bonus from the weapon triangle inherently. There's no way an axe user is going to hit you, because their hit rate's low. You know,
exactly.
Speaking, so that was another thing, that taking that away and nerfing the breaker skills, I think was a huge change that is just so valuable to this game. Like, it just makes the combat feel so much better. You don't feel like, honestly, dude, axe users like actually feel viable in this game versus Fates. They were fucking terrible in Fates. They were glass cannons that couldn't hit the broadside of a fucking barn. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, they would one-shot things when they hit stuff, but they couldn't hit anything.
You usually had to put them on tanks. Like, you usually had to put axes on tanks so they can take damage, but you know they're not going to hit shit anyway, you know?
So that's the first thing that's changed. The second thing, they got rid of the pair-up system. They changed it. They morphed this. You remember pair-up from the beginning?
Yeah, it was terrible.
The last 2 games have had this system where you could basically combine units together on, like, you could say you have two units, Unit A and Unit B. You could have Unit B join Unit A, and they'd be one unit on the same space. And in Awakening, what that did is that it would give you a stat boost based on the unit that's joining. And then that unit, anytime that combined unit attacks something, the main unit would attack, and then the secondary unit would also get a reduced damage attack as well. On top of it, it was a pair-up attack. Basically, this is how they did support in that game. In Fates, they nerfed this a little bit, whereas if you combine the units together, they didn't get the support attack. They only got what it did in that game was it prevented other units from being able to do support attacks on you.
Okay.
So it was a defensive thing in that game. It gave you a stat boost, and it was it prevented that. So it was basically defensive. If you were next to a unit, so you had a melee user with a bow user right next to them, and then that melee user attacked another unit in melee range, the bow user in Fates would attack as well. So that's how you got the pair-up attacks in that game. This shit was ridiculously overpowered, and they didn't do enough to nerf it, and they have eliminated this entirely, and I was so happy by this fact because I had seen nothing in the game that indicated to me that it was gone. And when I started playing the game and realized that this isn't a thing, I was like, thank God, because it just unbalanced things so severely in the player's favor that it wasn't fun.
I was on the opposite end of the spectrum.
Yeah,
I hated it because it added an unnecessary element of strategy to the game that didn't need to be there.
It made things really unpredictable because in Fates, enemies could do it to you.
Yeah.
And it made it really hard to calculate how much damage you were going to take on your turn. Because you didn't know how the AI was going to move. So say a bow user came and attacked you. Say you have, he had 15 attack and you had 10 defense, so you take 5 damage, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and then an Axe user comes down and he has 25 attack and you have 10 defense. He does 15, but then the bow user hits you too. It's like you have to calculate that into your calculation that you're gonna get hit an extra time. So it's like it became really complicated later in the game when you had to calculate all these skills on top of each other with units doing, team attacks and shit like that. It was out of control. It was so annoying.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't experience that in Awakening. I just didn't like it because I was the type of person that was so used to the old way of one unit. Like, it was cool, like, because in Awakening, they did have I believe they had the adjacent space thing, too, I believe.
In
Awakening?
Yeah, they did. No, that's where it started.
Yeah, and I thought that was a cool feature, but then when I started seeing the pair-up system, like, when you go further into the game, like, you can pair up now, and it's like, it just became stupid.
Well, Awakening, it was broken because only the player could do it.
Yeah.
The AI couldn't do it in Awakening, so they changed that in Fates. They let the AI do it, but then it created the situation I was just talking about where it was hard to calculate what was going to happen on the enemy's turn because you didn't... Like, you had to think about whether they were going to do pair attacks against you, who they were going to attack, like, all that shit.
And like you said, too, like, I just found myself pairing everybody up at the beginning of the mission, and then I just steamroll the mission. And it was boring. I'm like, this is not fun at all. So with this game, it's cool because your individual units matter, to you more.
Which is the Radiance games kind of philosophy. And what they did is they changed the pair-up thing to be like it's a minor bonus now. Like, if you say you have a bow user next to a melee user, and the melee user attacks somebody that's in melee range. Yeah. Instead of the bow user doesn't attack, but you get the melee attacker gets a slight bonus to their hit and potentially their damage. It's like very slight too. It's only like a few percentage points. Like, it's.
And then what about the what's it called, the attrition system or whatever? Like, when you can actually put a unit. If you have at the beginning of the mission and you have, say, you can only have 10 units in the field.
Adjutants.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's a minor kind of variation on the pair up thing. Yeah. Where it seems extremely minor. So there's 3 types of adjutants. There's attackers, defenders, and healers. Okay. Healer adjutants, I think, would they have a chance to heal the unit they're attached to at the beginning of your turn. And it's a large heal. Like, it's basically like a full health heal, essentially. But it doesn't happen very often. I've only seen it like 2 or 3 times playing the game. The attackers give you a chance to have an additional attack from the adjutant during any fight you have with that unit. Okay. But that also seems extremely rare.
It is. I haven't seen it.
I've only seen it twice.
Yeah, I've seen it once,
in my
maybe.
entire playthrough, yeah. And I've been using the attackers like almost exclusively. Yeah. Defenders, I think, will block an attack for you. Okay. But I've never seen that happen. So they seem extremely rare. It's a really minor feature.
I know they give you like a minor stat boost on that unit too. Mm-hmm. And that unit that's attached to you, they get XP.
Yes, that's the biggest benefit, is that the unit attached gets experience, and they also get class experience. Yep. And I think they get skill experience. That's really the main function of this whole system. I use it as a way to get my bench units experience. Yep. On units that I know I'm going to use a lot. So that's kind of what I've been using it for. I actually really don't care about the rest of it. Like, So those are two things they changed that are huge in my opinion. And then I just think the way they've done the statistical systems are vastly different in this game. So speed has been a fun stat to kind of watch over the course of Fire Emblem's history, because back in the Blazing Sword days, speed was OP as fuck. Like, you would be, if you had a high speed unit, they'd be like unhittable. They double everything. Like, you didn't need much speeds to double. I think you only needed like 3 speed over your opponent in order to double them. They've changed it over the years. Like in Path of Radiance, I think it was 4 speed, and then in Radiant Dawn it was also 4 speed. But then I think in Awakening and Fates they changed it to 5 speed and nerf speed. But what they did in this game, they brought it back down to 4, and they changed speed to. They made this attack speed stat, which has been in certain Fire Emblem games. I think it's been in all of them, actually. But it's some calculation. I haven't figured out the exact calculation at this point, but it's some calculation between the unit's speed stat, their weight, the weight of the equipment they're wearing, like the weapon, and then the other item they're wearing, like the shield or whatever they're wearing, the accessory. It's some combination between those, like speed minus those 2 other things, but I don't understand how the weight is calculated, because some units I have, their weight is not as detrimental to them as other units. So their attack speed doesn't go down as much. And in other Fire Emblem games, strength has been the stat that determines that, where it's like, if your strength stat is above the weight of your equipment, it has no effect on your attack speed. That was true in the Radiant games. But doesn't seem to be the case in this game. I can't really put my finger on what the calculation is exactly, but the point is, attack speed now, you need to have 4 more attack speed than whatever you're attacking to double it. Which is fine, right? Still very good. But speed now, it used to always give you a void, and it still does, but dude, it is so reduced. Like, your speed gives you like 1 avoid percentage, whereas before it used to give like 2 to 3. Which over the course of an entire game is like 100 avoid. You'd have units that have like over 100 avoid rate, and in this game, it's like most of my units have like 30, 40 maybe, some of my faster ones. So they've really mitigated the contribution of speed to your avoid stat, and they've done the same with dex to hit. It seems to only be like a percentage point for the most part with hit too. So hit rates and avoid rates are way down in this game. Your weapon contributes a lot more hit rate than it used to, percentage wise. And that's
your avoid rate too, right?
Yeah, well, it does affect your avoid rate too. Yeah, the weight affects your avoid rate. It lowers your avoid rate. So what that has done is, it's interesting as I've gotten later in the game, because I'm in part 2, chapter 15 right now, of Black Eagles, and the later I've gotten in the game, my units are kind of in the early 30s in level. And I'm starting to notice that, honestly, most units, there is no real avoidance going on unless you're in forest or a fortress or stronghold space, like something that gives you extra avoid. Or you're a unit that has like Swordbreaker on versus an axe user, for instance. Those seem to be the only instances where my avoid is actually like high enough to make a difference. For the most part, like, you're not missing very often. So it's really coming down to your skill setup. On, like, for instance, Petra, she's like one of the fastest units in the game. Like, she gains speed like every level up, basically. She's insane, but she's a good avoid unit, but only when I'm really up against axe users, because she has like axe breaker on her. She's good against other sword users as well. Like, her avoid generally, like, she's usually in the 40s, like, with chance to avoid. Or the enemy is at chance to hit, as usually around 40% with her, for the most part. And if she's in like forest, she's almost unhittable. So you can get units that are avoid tanks, but it's really difficult in this game. You really have to like have a really fast unit and build that unit to be kind of an avoidance unit. So that's another change too, because Fates, It's not really a change from Fates, actually. Fates was like, dude, dodge tanking in Fates was almost impossible. Like, you couldn't build units to avoid. Like,
that's how I felt with Awakening as well. Yeah. Like, it was just impossible to dodge, even when you were in the forest or in certain like the castle or the fortress type deals. Yeah. Like, I just remember being like very turned off by it because I'm like, dude, I should be able to avoid this. And Crom or whoever the fuck would still get hit, and I'm just like, okay. It was ridiculous.
Well, also where I'm at in the game, honestly, the game's become much more about straight up power than doubling. Like, doubling is really not that valuable in this game. I've noticed it's like, because honestly, a lot of my units like can just one shot enemies with the weapon arts and stuff.
Yeah,
with the weapon skills or whatever they're called. I can't remember the name of them.
Combat arts.
Combat arts, yeah. With between combat arts, gambits, and all that shit. Like, dude, your units are like, particularly the main character is fucking insane. Like he can do like 70. He can get up to 70, 80 attack.
All right, so I thought it was just me because I'm playing on normal, but dude, on hard he's like that too.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. It's crazy. No, dude, that's how you beat bosses. Like, the bosses. Insane. So I've had a weird like kind of journey with this game, where early on I felt like the game's difficulty was good. Yeah. And then towards the mid game, at the end of part 1, I started to feel like the game was extremely easy. Yeah. And I was like getting annoyed. I was like, this is like, I'm just steamrolling these chapters. And then
it ramps up at the end of part 1 or part 2.
At the beginning of part 2, there's a huge jump in difficulty again. and I'm not going to say the game is hard, but it is challenging. Yeah. Like, my units are not invincible. Like, there's definitely threatening.
Yeah, if you make a wrong move, your unit will
lose somebody. Yeah. For sure. And so that's kind of the interesting part. But dude, you start fighting bosses, man. Dude, they're so fucking powerful. It's crazy, like how they design some of these enemies on hard. Like, dude, I was fighting a battle yesterday where there was like a general kind of in the battle, and she had like 75 attack. Just at a baseline, because she was using one of those relics.
Oh, okay.
So she was using one of those relics. She had a battalion that gave her like +8 physical attack. So that's like 30 attack right there. And then she had like 40 strength. And then she had like axe fair, which was another 5 damage. So that's 70. It was like 75 attack. That was her fucking baseline attack stat. It's like, you can't even tank that. Like, dude, I had to like lure her out and like gangbang her. Like, it was crazy. Like, it was, dude. But then other units I've had, like, where they're like extremely powerful attack wise, but if you can hit them, you can one shot them.
You can one shot them, yeah.
So the balance is kind of a little weird. I'm getting used to it still, but I don't mind it though right now. Like, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, you have to figure shit out.
There's real strategy involved in this game.
I did come across a boss like that. Because you remember in like the older Fire Emblems, like when you come across a boss, if you're like really good, if you knew what you were doing, and you come across one of those unbeatable bosses, you can beat them in like, you know, chapter 10 or whatever. Yeah. Like the Death Knight, that motherfucker was like, no, you're not beating me.
I couldn't beat him until the 3rd encounter.
Yeah, same.
That's when I beat him finally. And even then, like, he was terrifying because it's really just luck. Because, dude, his crit stat was like 35. Okay. And at that stage of the game, your luck is only like 10 to 15. So you're only you're not negating very much of that crit. Yeah. And like, he still had like 20% crit, 25% crit on most of my units. It's like, it's pure luck if you get destroyed or not. You know?
It's so his crit is insane. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, yeah, he's definitely one of these bosses where I'm just not a fan of him, but I like it. But I'm like, I had to position a lot of stuff around his counterattack.
He was annoying.
I think that counterattack skill is the most annoying skill in the game.
Oh my god, that is from Fire Emblem Heroes. I mean, it's not really from Fire Emblem Heroes. I'm pretty sure Radiant Dawn had something similar. Yeah. But it's not something you see very often in Fire Emblem. And dude, that skill, like Fire Emblem Heroes, that skill is like super OP in Fire Emblem Heroes, because obviously, like, a melee unit being able to counter anything is ridiculous. Yeah, like, it's absurd. And yeah, he can count you regardless of your distance to him. Like, he could counter you if you're using a ballista 15 spaces away. Like, that's what that skill does.
He can counter that.
It's pretty ridiculous.
Because I don't know if these games had it, but I remember in Blazing Sword. Yeah. think the mage name was Pent. He had a move that he can like shoot thunder from like 15 spaces away. I forgot the name of it. I think it's like Arc Thunder or something like that.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking about that because I had a similar move where you can't silence him, and I'm like, maybe I can silence him or whatever. You know, you can only silence mage or magic based units. So he's definitely like. That skill, if I encounter that skill some more during Fire Emblem, I'm like, man, this is you gotta make sure that your unit can tank it as well as you can dish it. Like, it's crazy, man.
I mean, by that point, I was doing good damage to him.
Yeah,
like I could take about a third of his health with a hit.
Yeah,
with most of my units, but yeah, that means you have to not die twice against them, you know. So he that particular boss is you fight him multiple times, and he's the first couple times you meet him, he's stationary and doesn't actually move. So you're kind of safe unless you really want to like press your luck against him. But yeah, the third time, it's not. That battle was, I got fortunate because I wasn't roaming that part of the map he was on.
Okay.
But yeah, he just shows up and it's like like, oh man, dude. It was like, because I was kind of in the middle taking my time, and all of a sudden he just shows up and just starts coming towards you, and it's like, man, it's a pain in the ass because he's not alone either. It's like you have to deal with a whole bunch of units around him too. So I do want to talk about that. The battle design in this game is really interesting because it's there's like a market design philosophy that they took with this game that is like really different from the other Fire Emblems. And
explain.
Well, so dude, I would say on 80% of the maps they're designed for you to split your party, like to split your combat units up.
I normally do that. Just by like my whole
but the game like is like literally like there's like two sections of the map
you're
supposed to like go up at the same time, like that's kind of the intent. And like I'd say like 80% of the maps are like that, and it's really interesting because dude, it's like I like it because as you were saying earlier, this game is much more about your characters and building your characters and making them powerful. So they're like pushing you to a limit with that. Like you're having to split your party into like 3 different 4-person groups. It's like, can you manage to fight 10 enemies at once with 4 people? Like, your units are powerful, but are they that powerful? Like, it's like it is pushing limits sometimes that I find really intriguing, and I like it. I do. I really like it.
It also makes you use units outside of the norm. Like I'm using one of my mages or one of my healers. They're becoming a sword user now. Like because I did discover one of the classes are like a healer or a mage user, sword user type deal. But I'm using her a lot, and it's benefiting me a lot. But I was scared. Like I had to like kind of bait opponents, like weaken them, and then bring her up so she can finish them off and get her skills or her XP from it and everything of that nature. But just getting back to the map design, it's really weird how the units move as well. Like even the AI on normal, they make some moves. I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. I used to hate, and this is from all Fire Emblems, the green units, because they used to do the dumbest shit in the world.
They still do.
But it's not as egregious in this game.
Like, dude, there was that, like, guys, we're in spoilers now, by the way, so I'm just throwing that out there if you didn't already know. That battle early in the game when you have Gilbert with you. That fight pissed me the fuck off. Because for some reason I wanted to keep him alive, and I don't know why I did this in retrospect, but I like moved my party forward, and this motherfucker's in the back fighting like at the beginning of the thing, fighting like some fucking unit that spawned, and then all of a sudden 5 mages spawn, and they can all one-shot his fucking ass because he's a slow-ass armored knight, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why? Why is this guy... This guy's the bane of my existence. I don't understand. I don't even remember how I saved him in that fight, because most of my party was, like, literally 2 turns away from him. But I managed to get back and, like, actually save his ass. But it was such a pain in the ass because he's so slow because he's an armor unit. They reduce movement speed, and he's just like, his defense is really high. But his resistance was like 1, and his speed was 2, so he was getting doubled by everything. It was like, ugh. And yeah, they just throw a bunch of mages at the beginning of the map. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, so when I played with the Gilbert, I do remember I started preparing for the worst.
Yeah.
So we got to a certain point, and then 2 thieves spawn at the entrance, and you're like, okay, what the fuck? So
yeah, I had the same thing.
Yeah, so this 2 thieves spawn at the entrance, so I'm like, alright, cool. So I usually keep my mages in the back line. So I moved them into the middle, where I form like a little triangle type deal.
Yeah.
2 in the front, or like a couple in the front, couple in the back. So I had that kind of type of situation going on, and somehow Gilbert was in the middle too. So I didn't really have to worry about him as much. But then it got to a point where you get to because it's like a C, like the map is like a C.
Yeah.
So you get to like the top of the C, and that's where those mages spawn at.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck, the mages spawn. So I found out, which I used to do in old Fire Emblem games, where the enemies continuously spawn. I leave 2 units on those spawn points, and then I just go about my business.
You letting experience go, man. Come on, dude. That's EXP, baby. Man, but yeah, so that fight, though, because what happened to me was, the 2 thieves spawned at the beginning of the map, or mercenaries, whatever they were.
Yeah.
And they ran forward, and I had a couple units with Gilbert, but they weren't close enough to kill the mercenaries before his turn. So he went backwards and started attacking them, and at that point I was like, god damn it, I'm gonna have to leave like units here to babysit this dude, basically, so he doesn't die. So I left like a healer and like one of my other units. Basically I was like, if it's a couple mercenaries every turn, like he's a really high defense unit, he'll be fine, right? And then next turn 4 mages spawn, and you're like, what? How do you go from 2 mercenaries to 4 mages? Like,
yeah, that's how I felt in that first Death Knight.
Oh my god, dude!
The first Death Knight one where he's just like the guy was like, "Help me, fool!" And he's like, "Shut up! I ain't about to do shit."
He's like, "I'm not taking your orders."
Yeah, and then like 3 mages spawn behind you. I'm like, "What the fuck?" And mages do a lot of damage to people who don't have resistances, man. It's crazy.
This game, I will say, damage numbers in this game are wild.
Yeah,
like, dude, mages are fucking nukes. Like,
yes, man,
they're crazy. Like, dude, Hubert, he's exclusive, I think, to the Black Eagle path.
Yeah,
dude, he's freaking insane. He's doing 45 damage and like doubling things. He's a psycho, dude. I'm like, the dude's got like 40 magic at the stage of the game I'm at. It's like, I'm like, Jesus, man, like this is nuts.
I do want to talk about like the animations in battle.
Okay.
Yeah, like they're really fluent. Like I've recorded some of them, put them on Twitter because I'm like, especially the assassin dodge, and when she like dodges back and then she comes back and rolls and hits him, I'm like, dude, this game is really fucking cool.
So that's another thing they improved. So Fates and Awakening had an issue where there was the animations were obnoxious and over the top. They took a long time to play out. This game, they pared them down, dude. Like there's very few animations that take more than like 2 seconds, 3 seconds. Even the criticals are very, very quick and snappy. Like they're snappy. They're not wasting your time. So I have yet to turn off the animations because of that fact.
I haven't turned them off either.
I will say one thing that annoys me is when there's units have this tendency when they do no damage to somebody, they'll jump backwards, and when you're fighting a fucking brawler that does the double attack with the fists, and they do 4 attacks, so they'll hit, no damage, jump back, hit, no damage, jump back, and then your unit attacks, and then hit, jump back, hit, jump back, and that's the end of the combat. Those are annoying, and I kind of hope they patch that out, because it's just, the animation should be fluid. It shouldn't, like, the unit shouldn't, like, stagger backwards, and, like, I understand it's, like, for realism stakes, but, dude, back in the Radiant games, like, if you did no damage, your unit's animation was the same. It just said no damage, and it had the little tink noise, you know, or whatever. Like, just keep it like that. That's, like, it's fine. Like, it doesn't need to, like, be realistic like that, you know? It's like, I'd rather have a fluid animation that's quick than that, you know? Because it's annoying. Those ones, like, take 15 seconds to play out, 20 seconds. Like, it's annoying as hell.
Yeah, I did find that annoying. I do have one issue that I find. I mean, most people may not have this issue. During the dialogue sequences, The voice acting's good. I like the voice acting.
Voice acting is really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
I'm actually extremely surprised by it.
Yeah, and I am too. It's really good. It's just certain conversations linger.
Yeah. You want to get into this now? The supports?
Yeah, certain conversations just like linger on a little bit too long.
For sure. Where you're like, kind of like, oh my god, you're just like hitting A like through it.
Yeah. It's just because I try to keep it on like where it auto logs where it goes through.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I like that. I like that feature. I think more Japanese games should have that feature.
It's a good feature.
Yeah,
it's really nice when I'm like eating dinner or something.
Exactly. I can just eat. I feel like I'm watching anime at that point.
Yeah, exactly. I can eat and like the game's kind of going while I'm watching all these supports. Like, it's really nice actually.
But yeah, when you're just talking to people though, and you're just like, okay, I get the point, bro. Like, can we just move on? Sometimes they do linger. Like, oh, heaven's sake, when is this going on? Blah 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 blah. And you're like, bro, you already know what's going on. Like, I know what's going on. Let's just move on to the next thing. It's hard to explain once you play the game, but the conversations kind of overstay their welcome. Okay. After a while,
my issue is that's a problem. But as I've gotten deeper into the game, I'm getting to the A supports now, like the final support level, and these conversations are starting to get awkward. You know, because the A rank is usually when characters are like, they're like uber friends, or it's like romantic between male female. And dude, in this game, it's really overt with the male female sometimes. Like and it happens for every character. So I'm gonna take I don't want to say the name, but there's a specific female character where I've gotten A supports with a few dudes with her, and she like one of them she like proposed marriage to.
What?
Another one, she's like, you know, it feels like that the A supports are meant to be the units like kind of pairing up and becoming a couple. Yeah, that's what it feels like to me, and it's really awkward when you have 5 units you're A support with, and you've had all these like really intimate romantic conversations between all of them. It's kind of like really off-putting and like takes you out of it a little bit. Yeah, I find it odd the way they did that, and honestly, some of the A supports between characters are super cringy. Like, it's the one point in the game that I've really like kind of been a little like, I kind of want to jump out the window. Like, it's like oh yikes.
I just say for like Petra, her conversations are super fucking cringe. Okay.
Like, she's a specific character, though.
Yeah.
I like Petra.
I like
overall.
Petra. I like Petra overall too as a character.
The way they decided to make her speak, though, obviously is a conscious decision
because she can't speak the language.
She can't speak the language. She says things a little weird.
Yeah,
but I don't think they thought some of this stuff through. So there's like there's a lot of, obviously it's a fucking Fire Emblem game. Like, the characters are talking about training all the time. Yeah, like, oh, I was training. I'm trying to get stronger. Blah blah blah. But she talks about it. She's like, I was training with the hardness, and I'm like, are we sure that's the phrasing we want here? Like,
I will say too, like,
oh man,
I'm not a big fan. Well, I won't say a big fan, but they could improve upon the tea time conversations, right?
Oh, for sure. That is so bare bones.
It's totally random, at times, and you have to like really know. I guess it's not why they did it. Like, you got to know the character to understand what they're. But it's like sometimes it's just random, and then the choices they give you, you're like
the for character instance, wouldn't like any of these.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a person on the Blood Eagle side. I think he's a mage. He looks like kind of dark or whatever. Hubert, yeah. So let's say I'm talking to Hubert, right? And the 3 choices are pick flowers, eat cake, or do you like eating cake?
Girls.
Or, girls. Hubert, he's a shit about none of that. He's like a dark mage dude, and it's like, I guess girls, and it's like, oh yes, thank you. That was a really nice tea time. That was a really interesting.
I almost say the tea time's awkward. Like, Ingrid is another one with the blue lines that I find infuriating to like have tea time with, because dude, I have no idea like what the fuck, because she's a really weird character, because she's kind of a I don't want to say tomboy, but almost like she's very independent in the sense that like she doesn't need support from anybody. That's the way she conducts herself, and and she's not like a super romantic chick. Like she's not really like into the romance stuff. She doesn't really talk about boys.
Yeah, she's just into what she's into.
Yeah,
and it's not
exactly.
that. Yeah,
It doesn't really tell you what that is. So it's like when you're having tea time with her, I'm just like. Flowers? Maybe she likes flowers. I don't know. Like, and then it's like, oh, she didn't like that conversation, and you're like, okay,
what the fuck do you like?
Maybe food.
Yeah,
she's like, she didn't like that conversation, and if you fail twice,
they just end it.
The game ends the tea time. It's so funny. I get so pissed. I'm like, good damn.
Because it was a character I was trying to like secondary romance.
Yeah.
Because of course my first romance was like I tried to get Petra to join my party and I did.
Good job. Best character.
Yeah.
She's a fucking monster.
She is.
She is a monster.
And then the second character I actually just like the character in general, but she kind of not complains, but she like has a low self-esteem. Like she's like Hinata.
Bernadetta.
No, not Bernadetta, but on the Golden Deers, her name's Mariana or something like that. She has
the blue-haired chick. Yeah,
and she has like super low self-esteem, and she's kind of like Hinata, right? With Naruto and Hinata, and how Hinata's like soft-spoken and everything like that. So I try to cheer her up every once in a while, but it's hard because when I did tea time with her, like. All the conversations failed. I'm like, bro, what do you like? Like,
she likes horses. That's like literally all I know about her.
No, I think she's the goddess. She's always praying to the goddess.
Yeah, she prays to the goddess and she likes horses.
Yeah.
Those
and
are
it's
the
like
two things I know about.
And
her.
I'm like, bro, what else?
Tea time doesn't give you those as options.
It doesn't. And then sometimes just talking to her in normal support conversations, I'm like, yo, cheer up! Like you killed like a fucking dragon in the last game. And she's just like, I'm so. Do you guys like me? Why am I here? I think I'm just gonna go. And I'm like,
we're getting into the meat of this now.
Yeah.
Where you've made the error of choosing the Golden Deers. Whereas I made the superior choice of the Black Eagles.
No. First of all, the Golden Deers, as a party, as a group, they're like, yo, we can do this. We are those people that can do it. Yeah, they are. They're cool people. They're like we don't want to take over shit.
And the Black Eagles are like, yeah, we can do this, and we're gonna do it. And then they do it.
So do the Golden Deers. They're just like more laid back with it, man. Especially Claude. I mean, Claude's like, hey, you know.
I like Claude. I do like Claude. I really do like Claude. I can't wait to play as him or play with his class. But dude, the Black Eagles, like. All right, so I'm getting into real spoilers here. I'm gonna try not to go too deep to ruin things for you. But I am actually really glad I chose the Black Eagles first for a very specific reason. There is actually a split in their story at the end of part 1, and you have to make a decision that splits the game. Like,
oh really?
Yeah. No, there's actually 4 paths in this game, not 3.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell what the decision is, but it kind of dictates you picking a side in the conflict.
Okay.
And I'm glad I did it because their story kind of reveals a lot about the world versus the other routes where I think don't. Because the reason is because Edelgard has information that no one else has. And this influences her story in a huge way, and you know part of this. Yeah.
So I don't want to spoil it, so I'm just going to speak in code. But like when you reach one part, and I text you that one part, I figured
that's the split moment.
Yeah, but I figured like there's something else going to this world besides what we know and everything of that nature. Yeah. So I'm very interested because I feel like actually Golden Deers wise, Claude kind of figures something. He's like that's why I chose the Golden Deers, because he is like, yeah, church's cool. But
are they though?
And like I kind of got that sense from like the Blood Eagles. To me, they kind of came off as dictators, but like
they definitely are that. Yeah, no, dude. But
like the Blue Lions, though, the Blue Lions are like to me, I haven't played their path yet, and that's going to be an interesting path to play.
I want to talk spoilers so bad. Right
now. But I think we should do it next week. But
it's hard though. You're not gonna finish your path and then play through Black Eagles by next week.
Yes.
Like this is a long-term thing for us.
Yeah.
Like we're gonna have to revisit this game at some point and like really do a spoilers discussion because dude, like I really want to go into spoilers right now about the Black Eagles path and like what you just talked about. Man, dude, it's like it's really changed my opinion of I thought I made the right decision at the time, and I'm starting to think differently. Like as I've continued to go down part 2, it's really interesting. Like
because the Golden Deers, they're really like Claude is really. So the Golden Deers is like everyone's happy-go-lucky, and Claude's like that too. But he's just like, to me, he reminds me of Yuri from fucking.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tales.
But he's a little bit less dark than Yuri.
Oh yeah, he's less dark, but he peeps a lot of shit out that the rest of everyone else they just don't understand what the fuck is going on. He's just like, I'm coming from a different path. So like I don't want to spoil it for you for his backstory, but I guess it's not a real spoiler because you're gonna learn it. You learn it like literally like 5 minutes into the Golden Deers. He's not born from nobility. Like his house where he comes from, or his merchant house, they were about to fall, and then he just came out of nowhere and was like, I'm a part of the noble house, and I'm heir to the noble house. And they're like, yeah, he's our heir. So he like really comes from nowhere. So he has a different path from the other people and other merchants and that in the Golden Deers. Yeah. So he sees a lot of things differently from what they do.
Yeah, he's got a different perspective. I mean, that's obvious about him. Is like he almost kind of takes the piss out of the other two, like Dimitri and Edelgard. Like they're Edelgard, sorry. Like he's always like poking fun at the two of them because like Dimitri's like the straight man who. It's obvious there's something fucked up about him. Like I don't know what it is yet.
I think he's super fucked up in the head.
Yeah, I think he's a psychopath, and I kind of can't wait to explore that a little bit. Yeah. But I think he's like a psychopath, and Edelgard's the more.
She gave me the impression that she wasn't really a dictator.
She's extremely strong-willed. Yeah, and she's an idealist. She's got a great ideal.
She justifies her actions to meet the ends.
Exactly.
Yes, so if she wants to reach a certain goal, she does. Other people will like falter on certain paths. She's like, no, I gotta do this. I gotta kill like 20 billion people to get to this.
She's ironclad.
I'll do it.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I was talking about with her path is. That's continuing. Okay. As I've gotten further, and she
just strikes me as a person like people are like, would you sacrifice one person to save 100 people? And she's like, of course, that's not even a question. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So. And that's the thing. She has Hubert behind her too. Like he. And this is another reason I'm glad I picked the Black Eagles first, because I think they have the strongest characters out of the other houses, based on what I've played so far. Because I have some of the other characters from the Blue Lions in particular. I don't think I recruited anyone from Golden Deers. I tried to recruit Leonie, but I just couldn't manage it before the end of part 1. Okay. So I didn't actually get her. So I think all my characters are from Blue Lions. And
I definitely feel like doing the blue or the Golden Deers path, they really made them like a happy-go-lucky anime type guild, like because they come from like I said, they're all merchants, so they don't have to deal with kingdoms and stuff like that. Like everyone over there is just like, hey, we all equal too.
Just kind of living their life. Yeah, it's like a free city, like
And that's why I chose them, because they're like, they have a different perspective. Like you can tell they like the church, but they're just like, we kind of like our own thing too over here. Yeah. But as far as like character interaction and stuff like that, it's just when they interact with certain characters of other people, they see how ingrained the church is within them. They're just like, I don't think we really like that, but we understand their paths. But
and also the obsession with nobility.
Yeah, they don't understand that, man. It's only one person who has like that. He has like a nobility kind of craze to him, and it's kind of disgusting. But as far as like character interactions.
Oh yeah, I know you're Lawrence.
Right?
Yeah, he's annoying. Yeah. Oh my god.
But as far as like character interaction and stuff, I have to do more support stuff between them.
Yeah.
But I think Claw is definitely the strongest character. I feel like maybe in the Black Eagles, I can definitely tell in the battlefield when I did the 3, because I mean that's not spoilers. Nothing really happens in that battle. It's
the first, like the mock battle.
The mock battle and stuff like that. I think we do the second mock battle. I can tell, especially on the Blood Eagle side, that she has some kind of connection with like Hubert, because I think
her and Hubert are like fucking joined.
Yeah, because I destroyed Hubert first. I mean, even though he doesn't die in a mock battle, I got rid of him, and she was like, "Oh, what the fuck?" And then she started storming my side of the thing when I killed him. I'm like, "Oh shit!" So obviously something's going on there. And then like on Dimitri's side, he just didn't. It was weird. He just didn't give a fuck about his people.
No, that's my point about him. That's the impression I've gotten from him as well. But yeah, with the Black Eagles, like the characters are extremely strong. Like Hubert's great. I fucking love Hubert because he is the guy behind the scenes doing all the dirty shit.
He's the Itachi.
Yeah, he's the guy behind the scenes doing all the dirty shit for Edelgard, and she's aware of most of it, but like he would literally do anything for her. But it's not. It's like his loyalty to her is unbreakable. Yeah, you know, and it creates this interesting dynamic where he's like predictable in a lot of ways because of that, but at the same time, like he's a really sinister person, but he's like self-aware of how sinister he is because he kind of like terrifies other people that he's around.
Yeah, he knows that too. A lot
of the supports with him are like exploring that. Yeah, and he's like really self-aware about it. Like some of the ones with Bernadette are like she's like terrified of him and runs away from him all the time, and he's like, well, and then he like changes his behavior in order to not terrify her because he perceives her to be a useful person to Edelgard, so he doesn't want to like injure that relationship. You know? So he's like very self-aware, and I really like him for that fact. And some of the other characters, like Dorothea, I like her a lot. She is a funny character though because she's definitely got an archetype. That I see, like it's an archetype that is really relatable in the modern day. She's that really kind of self-important, judgy person who thinks they know everything about everyone around them, and then finds out she doesn't know shit about literally anybody around them. Like she makes assumptions about everybody, and this is like most of her supports. She makes assumptions about a lot of people around her, and then through her supports learns things about those people. And kind of understands them better, and like is like, oh shit, I'm kind of an asshole. Like you're not anything like the way I thought you were, you know. And it's like that's kind of a lot of her support stuff. So, but she's interesting in her own right. She has a lot of stuff herself that makes her interesting. So I like her a lot. I really like Bernadetta. She's like
I hear a lot of people say like Bernadetta a lot.
So Bernadetta is really relatable to people like myself and you who are like kind of have social anxiety issues. That's like her whole character arc is like she doesn't want to come out of her room because she has like she doesn't want to deal with people, like, you know, and she has trauma that created that kind of behavior with her, with like her parents and her family and life experiences she's had, but they do take it like a little far sometimes in a way that I think is portraying these people, like people with social anxiety issues, kind of in a bad light.
Oh yeah, they take the stereotypes of it and amp it up. They
do a little bit of that. So, but I'd say in general though, I really like Bernadetta because she has a lot of personal growth that's really fun to watch, and she's just kind of like funny. Yeah, like the voice actress for her is amazing. She's so good as her. Like it's great. She has some really funny interactions with other characters. She's legitimately one of the funniest characters in the game. Yeah. Like there's plenty of times where I've actually like laughed at her supports. Yeah. She's cool. Caspar, man, he's just kind of your generic warrior character. Ferdinand is fucking irritating, to say the least. But
Ferdinand is the redhead, right?
Yeah, he's the orange-haired guy who's obsessed with being a noble. Like he's always talking about how he's when you're a noble, you have to act this way.
He said one thing that really pissed me off.
Oh, he's a piece of shit. Yeah, like the way he talks sometimes. However,
he told fucking Petra to go home. when
Yes.
when a certain event happened, he's like, maybe you should just go home because
Yeah.
and then it was the most annoying. I'm like, oh, you're a piece of fucking shit.
But there's like there's layers to him though.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of get revealed over time, and I actually really like him. He in the 5-year time jump, he morphs in a really cool way. And I like where he kind of ends up. So I won't go into more detail than that, but yeah, I like him too. I'm missing somebody. Oh, Linhart, I could kind of give or take him. He's just kind of the lazy character that, like, you know, nobody takes seriously. And that's really it. And then I'm thinking of some of the other characters, like, you know, some of the supports. I will say, like, I was getting to some of the weird supports last night.
Yeah. Where,
like, I was doing some of Manuela's supports.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
She just needs some dick.
She's
like,
dude, for real. Like, I did a support with her and Sylvain, you know, the orange-haired dude from the Blue Lions, like the ladies' man or whatever. This was their C-level support. And
oh my god, I can't even imagine.
He's like, she was like drunk or whatever and like collapsed on the ground, and he like brought her back to her room, which is like really sweet or whatever, and it felt benign at first, and then all of a sudden he's like telling her like, you need a man like me who's like, you know, who would really care for you and like would really, you know, and then all of a sudden like I'm like, oh Jesus Christ, like why did we go to this place? And then all of a sudden Manuel, who's like probably 20 years his senior at this point, is like, Sylvain and me? Maybe. And I'm like, oh, this is like cougar shit. Like,
bro, like, you didn't get that vibe from the first time you met her?
But
holy
like,
shit.
Dude, so, like, they didn't spell it out like that, though, really.
To me, they did.
Like,
to me, they
I know,
did.
your first interaction with her is so over the top. Where she's like, lock the door. Like, and you're like, okay, lady, like, alright, whatever. So yeah, some of her supports are yikes. Like, so yeah, there's some supports that are definitely cringeworthy, for sure.
Yeah, I gotta do more supports because I'm just trying to learn their personality just through the battlefield and when I talk to them out in the field when you do your exploration. Yeah. But I haven't did none of the supports, so I am going to go back because I did have a save before I reached a 5-year time skip. That's not a spoiler alert because everyone put it on fucking Twitter. There's a 5-year time skip.
I mean, the game was advertised with that in the trailer. Yeah,
so I did have a save before the 5-year time skip, so I'm going to go back and do some of the supports for that, and then I'm going to see how. But I think one of my interesting characters on my team is Hilda. She's like, I like her because she kind of reflects what a millennial is in a sense, whereas we don't really have a loyalty. Like, I'm talking about like as far as like church and work, right? Because like people in the past generation really have a loyalty to their job, or they have a loyalty to a certain brand or a certain religion. Her, she's just like, hey, I'm just kind of doing my own thing. Yeah. I don't really. This is kind of like, why should I work hard for this? Like, I can do it, but why should I work hard for this? Because it's not really my thing, type per se. Like, I can just go off and do another thing. But, and she's also like, as far as like, I don't want to get involved in anything. I don't even want units following me. Why are you trying to teach me leadership skills? I don't want to do that. Yeah. But then as you teach her more leadership skills, she comes into the party and she starts teaching other people stuff and things of that nature. So she kind of evolves as a character. It's another guy. I forgot his name. The brawler on my team. Raphael. Yeah. He comes off as a meathead, but he's actually like super sweet. Like he cheers up like everyone's around him, and I really like him. Yeah, the only person that really annoys me is that Marianne chick. Like, I don't even know why I liked her a lot.
Yeah, and then Leone is like obsessed with Geralt for some reason.
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
But she seems like a super strong unit.
She is super strong. She's dummy strong.
Yeah, like,
I like her because she's like she's like focused on training. Yeah. That's all she really talks about. It's like, I'm gonna train. But then when you start talking to her, she has like a side of her that you really never seen. She's like a really cool, sweet person and stuff like that. But she is like a super strong unit on the battlefield. Like, I use her for everything. She's a really tank character. I actually turned Hilda into a tank. She's a
oh really?
A warlord, or not warlord, but armored knight.
Yeah.
So it's just like this. Imagine like the most anime girl y'all seen with like pink hair and ponytails. It's just like this super clad up armor.
Can you explain to me what is it about the pink haired girl using an axe that seems to be like an archetype?
I have no idea.
Because, dude, there's the girl from Tales of Symphonia. Same thing. Like, little girl, pink hair, uses a fucking giant axe. Like, what is it? It's like a thing. I don't know. I've seen it in a few games. Like, it's, I don't know.
Maybe it's just like to subvert your expectations of what they are.
Of course, yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think the characters in this game are actually really strong. They all have very distinct personalities, and this is another change from Fates that is a huge positive in my opinion. They actually spent time on these characters.
Yeah, you can tell, man.
Really developing them and giving you a lot of interaction with them, so you learn about them. Fates had a problem where there were too many fucking characters, and you could not feasibly learn about them all. And the supports in that game were hyper generic. Like, you could literally copy paste 3 different characters in each role and they would fit. You know, it wasn't like there was no like personality to any of the conversations really. So that was a huge detriment to that game too.
I am really surprised by that. I'm really surprised how, even for like just anime in general, how developed these characters are. Like, and I'm not trying to knock like, you know, Japanese entertainment as far as like character development, but usually you only get this kind of character development in like mature anime. Not typically anime like this or video games like this. It's really cool, and it's like you said, Persona-esque. Where I see it, like, I'm like, damn, this is really good. I'm really interested in these characters. I really want to talk to them. Some of them I don't want to talk to.
Yeah, but that's personality.
Yeah, that's personality thing. Yeah,
it's not any detriment to the amount of effort they put in.
Exactly, and I like how even though they're all their separate characters. Within the house, you can tell they all belong in that house. Like, I see why you're in this house.
Agree.
You know, like I could tell that with even with Petra, like she kind of melds in with us, but it's just like, you're not really here. You're here for me. Like, the professor really taught you how to get here, but you do belong in the Blood Eagles because those are typically strong-willed people. You know, that's what they do.
She is an extremely strong-willed individual as well.
And like the Golden Deers, they're like really independent. Their whole thing is like, yo, I'm independent. I'm doing my own thing. That's the thing I get from them. They like, I can follow in line, but I'm just too independent. I really like doing my own thing. I think everyone should have the expression and freedom to do what the fuck they want to do as well. You have to follow behind some nobility shit, and that's what they are. The Blue Lions, they're really like more so loyalists to each other. And like, I don't want to say friendship, but they're just like really loyal to family, from what I understand from them. But even though Dimitri, he's like a psychopath, in my opinion.
I'm really interested in that house.
I need to learn more.
I really want to see how the other characters bounce off Dimitri. You don't get any of that when you're playing outside of the house. So it's like, I really want to see, like, do they actually look at him as a leader, or is it just kind of a obligation thing? Like, he is the leader, so we have to follow him, but we don't really want to, you know, per se. So I find that interesting. But one of the things that has kind of been bugging me, this is actually a really big negative that has kind of not soured my experience, but it's definitely making me annoyed with the latter half of the game. So after the time jump, like, this is a little spoilery, but I'm going to imagine that this is relatively true for every path, probably, is that things happen prior to the time jump that seem like they're happening imminently, like they need to, like they're gonna resolve quickly, and then all of a sudden your character blacks out and wakes up 5 years later and basically nothing has happened. Like, it's like you're in the middle of a, like, before the time skip, war has started, and then 5 years later nothing's changed. Like, no territory has changed hands. Like, nobody's died. Like, it's like it's just weird. And then your character shows up, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, you're back!" Like, "Oh, we can actually like take things over now." Like, they literally say that to you. Like, they're making those jokes, and it's like, it makes the characters look like they have no agency. Like, and it's really frustrating.
I haven't got that far yet. I did really just hit the 5 year skip.
Okay, it was really frustrating for me when that happened. Like, it like took some oomph away from the story, that it's like everything revolves around your fucking character.
Yeah.
And it's like your character is powerful, like it's extremely powerful, but the other characters are too.
Yeah.
It's like it's just kind of annoying that like it feels like they kind of got robbed of their agency a little to me. And I will be curious to see if you feel the same with your path.
Okay. Yeah, because in my path, it feels like a certain group of people just took over fucking everything. Like, the way they explain it from my perspective. And, yeah. I mean, I'm just getting into it, but I can definitely tell, like, it's going to be that whole reunion type deal going on. That's one thing I did like about the game. It didn't make your character seem like he belonged, or he or she belonged in that world. But it didn't seem like a Deus Ex Machina, because you had this immense power, but you still couldn't stop what happened.
Yeah.
Like, you still couldn't stop certain events from happening.
Yeah, 100%.
And I like that. It was very different from certain anime that you normally watch. And this game to me had a certain, like, I started to see why people were like, oh, this is like a kind of a Game of Thrones type deal, because certain characters do certain shit and you're just like, man, you're kind of shady, man. Like, and I like that in the anime. I think they're trying to explore that. Maybe they're kind of biting off that Game of Thrones type deal.
Yeah.
But hopefully in the next game, I mean, I haven't beat this game yet, but hopefully in the next game they really dive into like betrayals and even your main character being betrayed and stuff like that, and you betraying other people and shit like that.
You know that decision you were or that moment you were talking about? Imagine that from my perspective.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. It's fucked up. I was like, wait, what? I had a serious, like, I had to walk away for 30 minutes. Like, I had to, like, process, because I didn't know what to do. Like, I told you, the game splits and you have to make a decision.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't know what decision to make. I didn't know what I wanted to do. Like, as me, as the player, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do in that moment. So it was like, it was really, really, like, funny from that perspective. Like, the game just kind of does that to you, and it's like, you have, like, I didn't really see it coming either. It's like, usually that stuff is kind of telegraphed, but in this case, I mean, you were just as shocked as I was. Like, I had the same reaction you did. I was like, what the fuck? You know, it's like,
usually games don't throw me off like that. But
man, they held that close to the vest.
I thought it was gonna be like some random ass person that we don't know about, and it's just I was just like, holy shit.
So yeah, like, there are plenty of good moments. I will say the story is really good. I'm like really into it, and I want to know more. And that's kind of what I'm thinking about now, is like playing through this game. Obviously, I'm getting way ahead of myself, but I'm thinking like, dude, I want a sequel in this world. This universe they built here, like this continent, Fodlan, and then the surrounding areas around Fodlan, dude, I find it fascinating. They've done a really good job building something interesting here.
Yeah, I think the whole church versus state thing, and church, just the whole, it feels like, I don't want to call it, because this is like the Dark Souls thing, like, I mean, every third person shooter is a Dark Souls, or every third person action game is a Dark Souls game. And I don't want to say every medieval game is a fucking Game of Thrones type game, but this game feels like that. It feels like it's trying to head in that direction, but more lighthearted, right? Like, they're not trying to go as gritty as Game of Thrones is.
So, yes, I agree with you. I do agree with you. And obviously, I haven't played through every path, so I don't know for sure how this goes.
Yeah.
But my impression of things right now on the path that I am on is I don't think the game has enough time to properly explore things the way I would like them to be explored. So, the part 2 for me so far has felt rushed. And I don't like that. Whereas the Radiant Dawn is a very similar kind of storyline to it. And obviously, like, the continent's like embroiled in war, and there's like back and forth between different nations, kind of maneuvering their armies around and stuff like that. But that game spent a lot more time actually going through the strategy of the armies, and like explaining to you, like, oh, he moved a battalion this way, and like that caused them to do this, to have to do this, to react and do all sorts of shit like that. It was like weirdly granular for like a Fire Emblem. But it was cool because there was a character kind of centralized to the opposition that was a very, very, very impressive character that, like, it was justified explaining all this shit to you. And it was really interesting too. That was like my favorite part about that game, is kind of the maneuvering and explaining why you're fighting battles in certain places. This game doesn't do that because it doesn't have the time. So you're kind of rushing through this war, and that's the disappointing part, I feel like, so far for me. I'm hoping the other paths don't feel this way, but the one I'm on right now is definitely like, it definitely feels rushed. In that sense. So that is probably my biggest, those two things are probably my biggest disappointments at this point. But the gameplay is great.
I think for these type of games in the future, like if they want to make more strategy RPGs, they need to build a strong story. They need to build strong characters around it. That
needs to be central to Fire Emblem, in my opinion. That's what makes these games good, dude.
Yeah, because when you build a weak story, like if it's just a regular light versus dark type deal, like
just Fates.
That gets stale real quick.
Yeah, or Awakening was like that.
The whole time skip thing or the time jump thing, and your daughter came back from the past to save. It's like that's stupid. Like, I'm sorry, but that's so stupid. And
two more things we didn't mention. The child stuff gone. There's no kids.
Okay, cool.
There's no pairing.
I thought that was gonna happen in the time skip.
You can romance, but no, there's no kids. There's no fucking kids. We've done it, everyone. We won.
Millennials have done it. We've ruined kids in real life and video games.
Dude, oh my god, I was over the moon. I thought it was part of the game. It's not, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, because I remember you said, like, I think it is a part of the game.
I thought it was. It seemed like it was. Like, with the time skip built in, I figured they would fit it in there somehow.
Nah.
They didn't, man. We won, Montrell. We won.
I thought they were going to do it with the whole... I mean, you learn about this, like, as soon as you play the fucking game. One of your character's special abilities is that it's control time. And I was like, maybe you were going to put them in, like, the...
100%. I thought that the whole time. And then it doesn't happen. And I was like, yes! So, no, that's, that was a huge surprise. Very big positive for me with that. No, dude, I gotta give Intelligent Systems props. They really made an effort to make a really great game, and it's clear they did it. They
from episode 2, we were saying, like, I hope they make all this money and put it into a decent Fire Emblem game.
That's what it looks like they did, and it's like, it's great because they really listened to, I think, player feedback on Fates. Like, they went back on almost all the issues with that game and went through. It's almost like a checklist. Like, everything I had an issue with in Fates has been addressed in some form or fashion.
How do you think they did that, though? Just by browsing forums or something like that?
I don't know, because the way they talk about this series, like, the director's like, we don't understand why it's popular in the West. Like, they don't... like, I don't think they read anything. I think they just internally critiqued Fates.
That's a problem with Nintendo.
For sure.
Nintendo doesn't know that, because I went to pick up this game. I didn't reserve it or anything. I went to go pick it up, and I went to the store by us, the Prestige store by our job. And I had to drive to another store. But they're like, Nintendo really doesn't. She was like, Nintendo literally told us this in a memo. They don't understand sales in the West. So when they do, I'm like, are you serious? She's like, I'm not even bullshitting with you. I wouldn't just make this shit up.
That's hilarious.
And she's like, they go by pre-orders. That's how many copies they send a little bit over that, just for like stragglers. But they really go by pre-order numbers.
They're crazy, dude.
Yeah, because they
like kill. I feel like they neuter the sales of these games, because Awakening had the same problem. West. That game was impossible to find for the longest time after it came out. Yeah, dude, it was so hard to find because it was like they do that all the time. Yeah, they think Fire Emblem is like, I mean, I think Heroes is like really open their eyes to the popularity of the series. But yeah, man, like this game to me could be one of the best sellers on Switch, period.
Yeah, because it's really good, man. It's
just a good game.
And when I found that out, when she told me that, I was just like, that's very interesting. Like, I had a hunch that they do something like that, but for her to just confirm it, I don't know, maybe that's just for GameStop. They gave that memo to them, but I'm imagining that's like, because obviously you can't really pre-order it. Like, you can, but like it's not really popular at Walmarts and stuff like that. Targets.
You can pre-order.
Yeah, okay. So, but yeah, they really don't understand the West. Like, so I don't think that's just. I don't think that's an intelligent design system. I think that's just or intelligent system. Nintendo in general, and that trickles down to their first party studios that they're like, why is this game so popular in the West? Like, I don't think people who make Xenoblade Chronicles, they probably don't even know their shit's like super popular over here. So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's very interesting.
We're gonna talk about this game more, I'm sure, in the coming weeks. I'm planning on playing it a lot still. I will say the exploration part of the game is starting to get a little long in the tooth for me.
Yes.
Like, I'm getting kind of tired of it. Like, it's a lot of time.
There are certain times when I skip it, and I see the percentage of people who didn't skip it. I'm like, man, how do y'all do this? I just want to fight.
I haven't skipped yet, and I might start doing it, because the problem is I'm such a micromanager in these fucking games.
I know you were.
This game is like micromanager heaven, but I just don't know if I can keep doing it, because, dude, it's like every chapter is taking me like 4 hours to do, and more if I have to fight a bunch of battles like on the side. Like, it's taking me like 4 to 6 hours to do every chapter, and I can't do that for 4 paths. Like, I can't.
So you do all the lost items and stuff like that?
Oh my god, yeah.
Oh, fuck
I've been
that.
doing all of it, dude.
Fuck that.
I've been doing fucking all of it, man. But I'm like out of control. Like I'm like. That's my point, though. After I'm in chapter 15, I'm like at the end of my rope with it already. Like, I don't want to do it anymore.
Dude,
I have heard though that New Game Plus like makes things better. Okay. For subsequent playthroughs, so I'm hoping that fixes my issues. Because, dude, I really do enjoy the exploration thing and like running around and talking to people, but I can't do it for 3 more.
Bro, sometimes I just go to a seminar. I say, fuck it, just teach me.
I'm with you, but dude, sometimes it's like you're like planning your month out, right? Where I'm like, I gotta make sure I have enough motivation on everybody so that I can instruct everyone on all the instruction days, so that I don't waste my instruction points. So it's like you use your first exploration to like eat a bunch of food with people, you know, to like increase their motivation, but then you need more points to like do some of the other activities. So I don't know. I'm just like really meticulous with that stuff. So we'll see if I can continue to do it though later on. So all right, we're gonna leave that there. We've been talking about that for over an hour. I'm pretty sure. So let's get into the news. This is probably gonna be a shorter news segment. We're trying to keep these shows a little bit more compact. Yeah, because
we're already at like an hour and a half.
Jesus Christ! I told you we were gonna talk about it a lot. All right, let's try to blast through the rest of this. Get people out of here. So I'm gonna skip this. Let's touch on this briefly.
We can skip it.
You know what? Fine. We're gonna skip it. All right. First story. So a lot of these stories, honestly, it's been 3 weeks of news. There hasn't been a lot going on, but these kind of came out like subsequently right after we recorded our last session. So Nintendo announced an updated Switch SKU that is an updated Switch model that is going to have a longer battery life. It's going to be rolling out worldwide. It's actually already started, I believe, in Japan and Australia. It's already out. It's going to have a different box, and it's going to have increased battery life with a new CPU chip that draws less power. And what is that? Now, what that's going to result in? So the current Switch, the launch Switch, has 2.5 hours to 6 hours. 2.5 to 6.5 hours. Is their kind of their range that they give, that they believe the battery will last. Depends on the game, it lasts more or less. They said with Zelda, 3 hours is generally the amount of time that it lasts. This new version of the Switch is going to last between 4.5 to 9 hours.
Ooh, yes.
Big jump. And Zelda is going to last 5.5 hours. So honestly, most games are probably going to last you 5.5 or more hours, because Zelda's one of the biggest like power draw games there is on the Switch. So with the announcement of that, like, they're not changing anything about the price with this. The box is going to be different. It's going to be like more red. It's going to be very obvious to you that this is a different SKU of the Switch. What I will say is it's been 3 weeks. US, it's supposed to be coming out in the middle of August sometime. These are going to start rolling out. Nintendo has been extremely quiet about this. Like, they're not saying a word about it beyond the initial announcement. They have not said shit about this. They're not saying when this is rolling out to certain territories. Like, I think they're trying to keep this under wraps so that Switches, like regular, like the other Switches that don't have this upgrade, like, keep selling. Because it's like, if you knew this, why would you buy a Switch until this is, like, you know, available? You know?
My thing is this, though. If I do upgrade to that Switch, right? Because, I mean, that sounds like a upgradable.
It's a huge upgrade.
How can I transfer my saves over?
Cloud save on the Nintendo Switch Online.
Okay.
You can do cloud saving, which you can get a month for free on Twitch right now if you have Twitch Prime.
Oh, okay. I mean, I have Nintendo.
So, yeah.
If I have Nintendo membership, then I should be covered.
Yeah,
right? All right,
just
cool.
Make sure your game saves are on the cloud.
Okay,
like,
yeah. I'll make sure.
I think it does it automatically, but I'm not 100% sure about that. Yeah, so, I mean, dude, that's a huge jump in battery life. And I've been debating, because we talked about the Switch Lite on the last episode. I've been debating about getting a Switch Lite or getting this, and given the fact... It's been so frustrating for me because I didn't know... like, they haven't really spelled out, like, what the differences are between the models. Like, the Switch Lite, they came out and said is going to have a 3 to 7 hour battery life, which is, like, not really an increase at all.
Yeah.
It's, like, barely an increase. And it was confusing to me because why would the Switch Lite have... a lower battery life when it's drawing less power in general, because the screen's smaller, the Joy-Cons aren't drawing power, like there isn't like a whole bunch of stuff that's in the main Switch isn't in the Switch Lite, so you'd think it would draw less power in general, right?
Yeah.
Well, it comes out, this came out like today, I think, that it's been confirmed that the Switch Lite actually has a smaller battery, which clears everything up.
Okay.
It explains why. So it's like the Switch Lite has a smaller battery
because they wanted to make it
smaller form factor, which makes sense, I guess. So it's like the Switch Lite's kind of out for me. Like, I was thinking about it, but only if the battery life was hugely increased, like what is happening with the updated Switch. So I'm probably gonna what's probably gonna happen is I'm probably gonna trade my Switch in at some point to get one of these new Switches. Like
I am.
New model of Switch. I'm probably gonna wait though for like a special edition or something like that. I might. We'll see.
They do need more colors. That they just
the
released.
Gray one I can't handle. I hate the gray one. Man.
And then like they did like the Disney version of it, and that was trash.
They have like a Pokemon Sword Shield gray Switch, but it's like a light gray though.
Yeah.
Light gray with the blue one side's blue buttons, like kind of like a light blue buttons, and the other side is like a purplish buttons. Dude, it looks so good. And I don't know. To me, they always been lacking on their designs for their consoles. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of which one had the best designs. I think
N64, the clear one.
Yeah.
The clear purple one, dude. So
I had
good.
a clear smoke one.
So good, man.
Yeah, even those were cool. But like, I'm thinking about the Game Boys. The Game Boys had a lot of different colors for them.
They did.
Tons of different colors.
Even the DS had a lot of special editions.
Yeah.
And the 3DS.
Yep.
3DS had a ton, actually, of special editions.
Because I see the stuff that people do that you can, like, you know, send to your Switch and they'll modify it for you and stuff like that. Or it's, like, legit modifications for the shell. And it looks so good.
Yeah. Word. Okay. I think I'm going to skip to this next story. So the next story we have is June MPD numbers came out. And this is actually a pretty interesting list. Super Mario Maker 2 was number 1 on the list.
That's actually not surprising.
It's not surprising, but it came out at the very end of the month. Like the 26th, dude. Like, that's only like 4 days on the market. That's really impressive for Nintendo, and this doesn't include digital numbers either.
Oh, okay.
So that's like really impressive for Nintendo. Crash Team Racing Nitro Fueled was 2, which is pretty impressive. Number 3 was Mortal Kombat 11. That game is staying strong on this.
I don't know why people say they hate that game. A lot of people say they regret their purchase of that game.
Well, I'm going to get into it in a second, but that's the number 1 selling game for the year now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto 4, or Grand Theft Auto 5 rather, is number 4. Minecraft is number 5. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is number 6. Marvel's Spider-Man, number 7. NBA 2K19 is number 8. Mario Kart 8 is number 9. And Days Gone is number 10. That is a weird list, man. That is a really weird list. I mean, it's a month that didn't have a ton of new releases, like big new releases.
Yeah, but that's still a weird-ass list.
It is a really weird list. Like, Spider-Man jumped back up. Mario Kart 8 got back on there.
Did they do any sales in these games?
Yeah, probably. Sony had a bunch of like flash sales going on. They keep doing these every month now.
Okay.
And then top 10 selling games for the year. Mortal Kombat 1 has jumped ahead of Kingdom Hearts 3. So it is now the number 1 selling game for the year.
Okay.
Kingdom Hearts 3 is number 2. The Division 2 is number 3. These numbers are fucking throwing me off. Anthem is still on the list at number 4.
What?
Dude. Yeah, man.
Are you
dude,
serious?
Soul.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Yep.
What the fuck is wrong with everybody? I know I bought the game.
We bought the game.
I know I bought the game.
I mean, we do have a podcast. I guess not everybody has that excuse. Resident Evil 2 is number 5. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate is number 6.
Deserved.
Days Gone is number 7. Red Dead Redemption 2 at 8. MLB The Show 19 is number 9. And Call of Duty Black Ops 4 is number 10.
That's weird, man.
Yep.
I didn't think Anthem sold that much.
It sold a lot. It was a big seller. Like, it didn't meet EA's expectations, but EA's expectations are literally always unreasonable.
Yeah,
so,
that's true.
Like, it sold a lot, which kind of explains why they've stuck with the game a little bit, but yeah. I can't believe how much money they made off that game. That's crazy, man.
Oh my god, this kind of justifies they can just play a shit game.
100%.
Holy shit.
We have definitely reinforced that.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, let's move on to the next story. Interesting list, but we'll keep monitoring that as the year goes on. So Sony had a sales milestone this past week. They have officially sold 100 million PlayStation 4 consoles, which is a huge milestone. That is extremely impressive.
Yes, it is.
They are in very rare company with that. I think the only home consoles that have eclipsed 100 million are the Wii and the PlayStation 2. I think those are the only other two that have ever eclipsed 100
That sounds
million.
about accurate. That sounds accurate.
So
PlayStation 2 was selling way beyond its time anyway.
Oh yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, no, they sold a ton of PS2s. The Wii, I know for sure. I don't think the PS3 and Xbox 360 never made it to 100 million.
Nah, they're 80.
I don't believe there's any other console that ever got past 100 million. There are handhelds like the DS sold 100 million, but those aren't. I'm not including those. So yeah, pretty impressive for Sony. I will say that this did come with a kind of note that sales have kind of cratered recently in the last like month or two.
Okay.
Pretty badly. So it seems like people are starting to anticipate the next gen. I would imagine that Sony would be very fortunate to get to 120 million. At this point, I would wager we're going to probably settle around 110 to 115 probably with PS4. But dude, even given that, in an era where people were kind of saying that video game consoles are done, this was an extremely impressive generation for Sony. So we'll see if they can continue it with PS5.
Yep. Looks like, just to give you a brief synopsis, PlayStation is number 1. It's the best-selling one of all time.
PS2.
PlayStation 2. I'm sorry. I said PlayStation 1. But yeah, PlayStation 2, 155 million.
Wii's next, right?
No, the DS is.
Well, yeah, but
home consoles. Home console is actually the PlayStation.
Oh, that was the one I was thinking of. That actually eclipsed 100 million?
Yeah, 100 million too, and then Wii is 100 million one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought the Wii sold more than that.
According to this, it only sold.
Okay,
100
well,
million,
Sony apparently is dominating the 100 million club.
Yeah.
All right. Last story for this week. This was a big one. I don't have a lot to say on it, but it's very noteworthy. This is a huge shift. So Ninja is an extremely popular Twitch streamer, probably the most popular one in the world.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He's still probably at the top. And he has left Twitch to stream exclusively on Microsoft's Mixer streaming service. This happened last week, and man, did this cause a shitstorm.
Yeah, the internet actually kind of blew up about this. I didn't think it was gonna.
Oh, this was huge, man.
Yeah, I didn't think a lot of people were gonna blow up about this. Even I was kind of interested in it.
People were pretty upset about it. Funny enough too.
A lot of different conversations started popping up because they started looking at Mixer's streaming dress code.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This brought up an interesting conversation of, is streaming a business or is it just a free deal? And people were saying it's still a business on their platform, so it's like you're walking into a building and you're streaming.
Yeah.
So
of course.
Yeah. So a lot of female streamers were upset by Microsoft's Mixers, but which is owned by Microsoft, streaming thing, because they have different categories. So you can be a quote unquote boob streamer, and if you don't know what boob streamer is, this is when the girls really. You can imagine they're not fully naked, but they just have like low cut shirts, and they're obviously gifted in the boob range. But anyway, so Twitch had a very strict thing on that, where it was taken, because a lot of people were like, "Yo, these are taking my views." Like, obviously, I'm a male streamer, so I can't do that. But so Twitch changed their thing where it's like a mature audience. Like, they have ratings now for your streams.
Got it. So they made ratings for...
Yeah. Okay. So you can do that, but I guess people were upset about that. They're like, oh, what if I decide just to wear a tank top that day or whatever? Well, you gotta change your stream to a mature audience stream, I guess, or whatever. Yeah. Or make sure you follow within the guidelines of the stream. And it's the same. They have a dress code for guys, too. I think they can't be shirtless and shit like that.
Twitch is a privately owned corporation. They can do what they want on their platform. Like, if they decide that you can't show skin, you can't show skin. Like, that's their rule. I mean, yeah, sure, it's to their detriment if they did something like that, but it's like, I don't know, people get so up in arms about this stuff.
The thing about this is Mixer Ben had this, and I think him shifting the platforms has caused a lot of other streamers to shift platforms.
Is Mixer more strict about the boobage stuff, or
I feel like they're
less strict?
They're the same as Twitch. The difference is Twitch is not like, they go by like a case by case thing, but whereas people are like, I'm glad Mixer, like, I look at it like this, I'm glad Mixer, and a lot of female streamers saying the same thing. They're glad they have a strict, or not a strict guideline, but a clear, concise guideline on what the fuck they can wear, what the fuck they can't wear. Okay. Like, Twitch is like,
Twitch is really, I will say, Twitch is like really vague.
Yeah, exactly.
And then they come down and put the hammer down on somebody, and it's like,
exactly,
like,
and that's exactly what.
No warning, like,
that's exactly what female streamers are saying. I feel like female streamers are kind of torn between it. A lot of them did say they like, yo, I like that you guys have clear cut guidelines of what I can and can't do, and what I can and can't wear, and things of that nature. Whereas, and then some people are like, oh, this is the other side of that conversation, and other people like, Twitch, I don't like the case by case thing. Like, I just don't like it.
No, because it feels like somebody's like out to get you.
Yeah.
Like, if somebody doesn't like the cut of your jib, like, you might get banned.
Exactly.
Like, okay. I mean, like, I think it should be more clear. So I appreciate Microsoft, I guess, being more professional about it.
I don't look at it as a thing of like, male versus female. I think of it more as a family oriented thing, because a lot of younger kids do watch streams, and if you're if your little 11-year-olds watching, not supposed to be watching, I'm glad they got tiers to the streams now, because there were like 10 or 11-year-olds at the early stages of Twitch watching quote unquote boob streamers, play
boobage streamers.
So I thought that was an interesting conversation that came out of this whole move. Another thing is with Microsoft, I think this is a really good move by Microsoft, because they played to Ninja's vulnerability, or not vulnerability, but soft spot. So if you don't know, Ninja started out as a Halo enthusiast, and he played on several Halo teams. He still plays Halo to this day on Halo 5 for a team. So I feel like this is really indicative of them releasing Halo Infinite in the coming years, and he's going to be one of their top streamers for that type of game. So I thought that was a really cool move. I give them, whoever was the business marketing person behind that, really, really good job.
Well, I like this in the sense that, too, this was a huge risk for Ninja, and it seems to have paid off.
Yeah.
Obviously, since this happened, like, he's had huge numbers, like 100,000 concurrent viewers on Mixer, which is
really
insane. Like, it seems like he's had very little effect from moving platforms, and what this shows is that Twitch isn't necessarily that important. It's the person,
and I think that's what scares Twitch.
And Ninja, I think Ninja, he took a risk, but he was, I think, obviously he probably got some money in the deal with Microsoft, but at the same time he's also kind of making a point at the same time, that I am the product. Twitch isn't what's valuable. I am, you know, and like that's actually this is a huge thing. This is a huge moment for streaming in general.
Yeah.
That the platform is important up until a certain point. Like, it needs to have certain functionality, it needs to work properly.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
And it needs to offer things to the people viewing as well, but at the same time, people are coming to watch him. You know, they're not coming to watch because Twitch is Twitch. It's like, who gives a shit? I don't care. That's the same thing I say about YouTube. Like, Google's going to run YouTube into the ground if they can't get their shit together, because I don't care what I'm watching on. So it's the people that I'm watching that I care about. Yeah. You know?
So, like you said, this is going to be very interesting. I'm glad you brought up like YouTube, because. Yeah. What if a lot of YouTubers start going to other platforms?
That's the thing.
I think this is going to.
There aren't a lot of other platforms that are really viable right now, but dude, this might embolden somebody to try.
Yeah, exactly.
And somebody needs to try, because YouTube sucks. It sucks. Straight up sucks. Okay? Like, the way they handle copyright, the way they handle ad revenue, the way they change their algorithm every second hour of the day, like they just, they're like Twitch in the whimsical nature of the way they do things. The fact that nothing is spelled out for anyone and no one ever understands anything is like, everybody's always trying to figure the algorithm out, figure out what the search engine optimization should be for their videos. It's like, it's just, dude, just spell it out so we can have like a real clear market for YouTube and Twitch. Like,
yeah, it's just really weird how companies don't do that.
Yeah,
like. This is your vessel. You need to let these people know. Like, this is how
they don't have to. What's Google scared of? There's nothing to compete with YouTube. There's all
true.
these like shitty little sites that don't. They're nothing. Like, if someone actually showed up and, like, say Microsoft, for instance, created a YouTube like a competition for YouTube that wasn't a streaming site, like it was actually a VOD YouTube type site. I mean, then maybe Google will get their shit in order. But right now, there's no competition, really.
Yeah,
so,
you're right.
Like, they have no incentive to really do anything, you know?
Well, YouTube changed after Google acquired them. Like,
oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Totally. Oh, yeah, totally, dude.
Because I remember when YouTube first got acquired by Google. You remember the comment section?
Yeah.
And the ratings for the top comment thing, that got, like, killed, and people were like, this is stupid. Like, I don't even watch YouTube videos no more because I can't comment and look at the top comments.
Well, yeah, and I think Google also, I think they use YouTube as a testing bed for things.
Oh my god, yeah.
I think it's extremely obvious that they do that, and it's to the detriment of YouTube.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of these things are not to the benefit of content creators or the viewers, really. You know, and it's so.
And I think Mixer did a good job. They have, like, the emotes. Everyone's worried about the emotes and things of that nature. God. That's like a huge thing in Twitch, and Mixer has that, and so it's like, I'm pretty much going from one place to the other. Like, it doesn't matter. This is just like Twitch. Like, I like Mixer when I watch it on my Xbox. Especially if you have an Xbox, you can just hit play or hit Mixer, and then you go right to it, and it's very easy to use.
Yeah, so this is a big deal, dude. And honestly, if more streamers follow suit, I don't know. It's an interesting thought. So I'm happy this happened, because I don't think having a single platform dominate the space is ever good in anything.
Yep.
So
competition.
I like to see this, and honestly, I hope what you brought up with YouTube comes to pass. That somebody has the balls to make a competitor to YouTube and really start tearing people away from Google, because YouTube is just, it needs to improve, and they need to have incentive to improve. And the only way that happens for most companies in a capitalist society, free market, is competition.
Yeah.
That's the only way. If they feel threatened that they're going to lose their customers and lose money because of that, then they'll actually do something beneficial.
Definitely agree with that.
So, all right, let's move on. Game release dates. There was only one that I really saw. There were probably more, but I have not been super plugged into the news the last few weeks. But big one, though. Luigi's Mansion 3 got a release date, and I was right on the nose. It's Halloween. October 31st. I mean, this was extremely obvious to anybody that has a brain, in my opinion.
Are you Nintendo's marketing team? You're not telling us? Is this how you can afford this house, Justin?
Let's not pat me on the back too much. This is extremely obvious that this game was going to be released on or around Halloween. Like, nothing else was kind of come to pass. Like, I don't even understand why they withheld this date when they announced the game. Like, you should have just... I guess they wanted to, like, hype it up some more and have, like, multiple hype moments, but it's like, yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, but are you excited about this?
Yeah. I'm leery because I don't want it to be like Luigi Mansion 2.
I don't think it will be.
That's the only thing I don't like. I didn't like Luigi's Mansion 2.
Me either, but I think it's much more like Luigi's Mansion 1, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if it's going to be a day one for me, but it'll be close to a day one. Because I think it's going to be a short game, so it'll be easy for me to pick up and beat in like a weekend or two. So
okay.
Looking forward to that. All right. Game releases. So there's been 3 weeks of shows. A lot of shit has come out. Madden 20's came out last week. This week we have Age of Wonders Planetfall, which is a new 4X game that actually looks really cool. And damn it, I wish I had more time in my life to play games like that. I probably will at some point. DC Universe Online on the Switch. It's coming out.
Okay, that game's still kicking?
That's random. Pillars of Eternity, the first one, is coming on Switch. Look at that.
Them load times are going to be crazy, though.
God, they're already bad on PS4. Jesus. I can't even imagine. Watch them be better somehow. They're, like, better. Whoever did the port, like, did optimize the game more for Switch. Anything else jumping out to you, man?
I thought that Astro Chains came out.
That's this month.
Okay, all right.
It's a little while.
I thought it came out this week, but
no. Oh yeah, there was Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Man, I heard terrible reviews about that game.
People are really trashing that game. It's unfortunate, but that's it. I think that's it.
All right,
we're done. We're gonna call it an episode. It was a fun episode. Most of it was Fire Emblem. I hope you guys enjoyed that, though. Because, yeah, we really, really, really are enjoying Fire Emblem. I highly recommend it to you. If you have a Switch, you like strategy games. Honestly, even if you don't like strategy games,
I was going to say,
you might still like it.
You might still like this game.
Fire Emblem is really unique in the strategy game sphere. It just seems to appeal to people who don't even like strategy games somehow. Yeah. So it's very anime, but it's good anime.
Yeah.
So
this one is.
This one is.
Yeah.
This one is. Face? No, don't recommend that to you. Don't buy that game. That game is, yikes. All right. So, if you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And if you could share it with your friends, we really appreciate it so that we can grow the audience. If you want to talk to either of us on Twitter, Montrell is at iTrapForTheHokage. That is the number 4, not the word. I am at Thundernut01. The show is at The Player's Take. If you'd like to send us questions, which we're at this point, please send us a question. I want to read a question, all right?
Yeah, just send us, and even if you don't know about video games, send us a question about a video game or something that you may have had.
Ask a question about us. You could ask a question about us. You could ask a question about video games, something completely unrelated to video games. We'll answer it. We'll try to.
Yeah,
at least.
If it's some weird shit, I ain't answering it.
So, if you want to send a question, send it to Twitter, or you can send it to email at theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And we will read it on the show next week. I don't know. We're probably going to talk about more Fire Emblem because we're obsessed with that game. And, yeah. Whatever news happens.
And some news, yeah. Hopefully some news happens because it's been a slow couple months.
Oh, man, it's been so slow. We're ramping up, though.
Yeah.
We're getting closer to WoW Classic. We're starting to get, dude, once September hits, man, we're going to be rolling. We're not going to have enough time for all these games. Like, it's going to be just a flurry of shit. So, looking forward to that. We're getting to the exciting time of the year. And that's it, guys. We hope you enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one. Bye, guys.
All right.